welcome, first of all, to everyone who's here so far. Hopefully we'll have more joining us here as we move along. Today, the reason I'm doing this, the Healthy Life, Healthy Business webinar, is because basically my business began on this topic. Because for me, when I became, and go ahead and, oh, here's one more. Welcome, Benita. Your perfect timing. We're just getting started. I'll share with you real quick. We're going to keep everything on mute so everybody can mute their computers or phones, whatever you're using right now, just to minimize background noise. And then I have the chat box open. So if anybody has any questions along the way, feel free, raise your hand or throw it in the chat box. We'll have time at the end as well for questions, and we're going to try to keep this to an hour, like I said before we came on the air. Anyway, so I wanted to do this webinar, Healthy Life, Healthy Business, because my particular business, Fernandez Fit, is built on the mistakes I made in my younger adult life, putting business, putting career, putting work ahead of myself and everything else, and all the mistakes that I made along the way. And thankfully, knock on wood, that I learned a lot along the way because of those mistakes. So the goal for me tonight is to share some of the mistakes that I made, share some of the lessons that I learned from the experiences I had, and also share some tips onto how to better bring together, better blend your personal legacy that you're building through health and fitness with your career or business legacy. We as a society, and I think we all know this pretty well, unlike most other countries, we wear sacrificing ourselves in the name of our career like a badge of honor. You may as well just embroider it on our shirts. Because how many times do you have a conversation with someone who says, man, I worked 100 hours this past week, and they're talking like they're supremely proud that they just worked 100 hours that week. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but what I am saying is maintaining that level of commitment, working those kinds of hours week after week after week after week, is going to take its toll sooner or later. And I know for me, this is a big reason why my last career ended after 26 years. And I'll share with you that here in a second. What I am going to do is go ahead and share my screen so you can see what all this is about here. Here. There we are. I'm going to share that. And then I'm going to put it in present mode. Let's see here. Everybody see this? Where's this? What's this? Full screen mode. Okay, perfect. Where it says healthy life, healthy business with some arrows here, health, wealth, and can you see all that? Good. All right, good. So I'm going to go ahead. So basically what we're doing here, we're implementing simple and effective steps to improve and maintain our health and well-being, because that's critical. If we want to be in the business world, if we want to be at our best in our career, if we want to build that business that we love, Karen, I know you work extremely hard at what you do. Everybody does in their own way. If we want to make that happen, if we want to build that professional legacy that we all yearn to have, we can't sacrifice ourselves. Actually, taking care of ourselves is crucial. It's an integral part of being able to really build that professional legacy that we want. Let me go ahead and move on to the next screen here. All right, come on. Where are we? Why is this not showing?
Victor,
Yes.
what I see a box that says presenter window.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and swap out here.
Oh, there you
Technical
go.
difficulties, please stand by.
Yeah.
Can you see this now?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Photo
Thanks.
of me and all my grandeur running there, freezing my butt
Absolutely.
off. Karen, I know that race, I was freezing my butt off on that one. All right, good. Now that we got that out of the way, here are some, just if you don't, I mean, I know all of you know me in some way, shape, or form. Some of you, longer than others. But share a little bit about me and why my business is the way it is. I launched Fernandez back in 2021. It started during the COVID shutdown. I was working at a gym in Ocean City, Maryland. I was pretty much doing everything from acting GM to full-time assistant GM to fitness director to programming coordinator to the only trainer for a couple of years there at one point. I worked front desk, pretty much did it all there. And I learned how to, well, really learned what not to do in the business world and learned from a lot of mistakes done there. But when COVID hit back in March of 2020, I remember the date, March 16th of 2020 is when everything shut down. And for me, like everybody else, we all went home. We didn't know what we were going to do with ourselves. I sat, we lived in an apartment on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, 5 of us in there, myself, my wife, our 3 boys, and our dog, or one of our dogs at the time. We've since gotten another one, all living under the same roof, trying to figure out what we were going to do next. And I sat there for 2 weeks, and I knew that if I didn't do something, I would lose my mind. And it wasn't even a sense of, I'm going to start a business. It was, I needed to do something constructive, something proactive to make sure that my mind stays sharp and I keep my mind off what was going on at that time. I was collecting unemployment, as was my wife, for the first time in our lives. I'd for the first 3 decades of my adult life, I was gainfully employed. I had health insurance, and I knew what I was making every 2 weeks of my paycheck. For the first time, I had no idea what was going to happen next. That's a pretty scary proposition. So what I did was, I had basically an empty garage in the community where we lived. Had a little bit of storage in there, but not much. Didn't park any of our cars in there. So what did I do? Started gathering some equipment. Started buying some, started borrowing some from the gym where I worked, and just started piecemealing things together. Not to start a business, but to keep myself in shape, mentally, emotionally, physically. It was an opportunity for my family and I to get out of the house and go do something constructive together before we lost our minds, frankly. So as I started putting this gym piecemeal together, I started thinking, well, you know what? I would love to start my own business. And up until that point, I had every excuse in the book not to. I had a full-time job. Now I didn't. So I had to do something different. I had to start pivoting. And what I discovered was that with the fitness industry, as with a lot of businesses, if you didn't pivot to the online world, to the virtual world, you were left behind. And that was especially true in the health and fitness industry. So I started training some of my in-person clients, the ones who wanted to keep going despite the COVID shutdown, started training them online, much like we're doing right now. They'd be on the computer screen on their end, I'd be here, and they'd be working out, and I'd be teaching them what to do. And I realized at that point that I no longer wanted to have a boss. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted a business to either succeed or fail on my terms, as opposed to having my paycheck be dependent upon somebody else or a company or another business. So I launched Fernandez Fit in January of 2021. As you can see, I'd gotten my certification back in May of 2018. Didn't really do a whole lot with it that first year because I was still transitioning from the newspaper industry. I did that for 26 years. And here was the biggest difference for me was I was good at it and I knew it. I'd done it for a long time. Not when it came to but building a business, working in the health and fitness industry, didn't have a clue. And that's what excited me, was an opportunity to try something new without having any idea what was going to happen, without any guarantees of success, opportunity to fail at any point in time. That excited me. That really did. And it pushed me to get all these certifications that you see here. Became a certified online fitness coach, fitness nutrition specialist, performance enhancement specialist when I considered working with athletes, back in the early stages. strength and conditioning for seniors. I've worked with people from age 14 to 83 and all ages in between. But most of my clientele tends to be a little bit older. Not that I'm young, I'm 52, but they tend to be 40s and up. So, I mean, right now, my clients range from their 30s and 40s up into their 70s. Also, TRX suspension training. The reason I did that, if you've ever seen a suspension trainer, it's the coolest piece of equipment on this planet. It's my most favorite piece of equipment out there because it really, really works. It utilizes every bit of what we need to do, especially when it comes to our core. Let me move on to the next. What is going on here? There we go. Wrong way. There we go. All right. So I don't know if some of you may have already seen these pictures before. I've shared them before. That's me on the left. I know it doesn't look, it looks like two of me actually. And then here's me on the right, just a few years back when I was at my thinnest. Okay. You see somebody there with a smile on his face in both photos. I can tell you right now, the person on the left was not happy at all. And that was back when I was in the newspaper industry at the height of my career. But the rest of my life was an absolute shambles. I wasn't the husband I wanted to be. I wasn't the father I wanted to be. I wasn't the friend I wanted to be, the son, all of it. Why? Because I felt like my life was completely out beyond my control. And it started with my health and fitness. I knew what I needed to do. We all know what we need to do. And if I put an apple and a bag of chips in front of everybody on this call right now, I think we would know which one we should pick. So, I mean, but the idea is, so if we know all that, why is over 40% of the population in this country considered obese? Why is over 70% of our population considered overweight? Because there's a big difference between knowing what we should do and actually doing it. And for a lot of people, it's that mentality that, and it was for me, that photo on the left is Exhibit A, that I had to put everyone and everything that was important to me ahead of myself. That's the way I was taught. That's the way I was raised. My mom's 78 years old, going to be 79 in August. God bless her, she still thinks that way. Because to my family, to myself, the idea was I had to sacrifice myself. I had to be a martyr, in essence, for the betterment of everyone else that was important to me, everything else that was important to me in life. What I hadn't discovered at that time, what I discovered when I started losing 75 pounds and became the person you see on the right, is that in order to be at my best, for everyone and everything that was important to me in my life, I had to be at my best. It wasn't selfish, as I thought back in the day. It was essential. I mean, think about when you've been at your fittest, at your most energized. Think about how productive that you can be and that you've been in whatever you're doing, personally and professionally. Think about that for a second. When you feel good, you wake up, you're energized, you're ready to tackle the world mentally, emotionally, physically. You're going to be much more productive and much more successful than if you're getting out of bed like I did in that photo on the left. Getting out of bed was hard enough to do, much less tackling the world the way I thought I needed to. But that's the way I was taught. Everybody comes first, but before me. To the point where I didn't take care of myself at all. And that's not to say that I didn't go to the gym. That's not to say that I didn't try to be healthy. I tried all those things. A little bit here, a little bit there, a couple months here, a couple months there. What was the difference? I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have the knowledge to not only figure out what I needed to do, but to figure out what I needed to do that would work best for me. And that was the hard. I would turn to the internet. We know what happens when we turn to Dr. Google or Coach Google in this case. You find things, you see a lot. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen influencers on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. And I'm not bad mouthing any of them really, because there's plenty of them out there that are good at what they do. Here's the only problem. They don't know you. They don't know me. They don't know what you've been through. They don't know what I've been through. They don't know what's best for me or what's best for you. So here's the program they give you. Have fun with it. And what happens when you need to make adjustments? Well, here's the program. Have fun with it. I didn't have, so where I turned to were simply dead ends. I'd make a little bit of progress, it would stall, I'd get unhappy, I'd get frustrated, I'd get angry, I'd quit, I'd stop, I'd gain weight again, gain everything that I lost back and then some, and then I'd try it again 6 months later and with the same end results. The old definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I did that for 20 years. And that's I will take to my grave as my biggest regret. Because as far as I've come to this point at 52 years old, sometimes I stop and think, man, what if I hadn't just wasted those 20 years? Where would I be right now? How many people could I have helped to this point if I had started at 27 instead of 47? And I'm sure we all have that idea in mind as to what if I had actually done something about it sooner. All right. Any questions so far? Everybody keeping up with me? I know I'm rambling. I'm having fun with it. I said, if you have any questions, just let me know along the way. All right. I'm sure you've all seen this meme before. The three Spider-Mans pointing at each other as if they're somehow different. They're not. Because our health and well-being and our business and career all lend to what? The quality of life that we're looking for. Think about how happy we get when we succeed in something personally. We run a 5K, or we are able to keep up with our grandkids and not feel like we got run over by a truck. Whatever that may look like. Same thing in business and career. Karen, you've built a very successful business. And I know it hasn't been easy, and you've got an incredible story of how you've been able to overcome and persevere. So think about when you work with one of your clients, especially one of your clients that really has a challenging situation, and you accomplish that goal, you get them to where they need to be, where they want to be, the feeling you get. So think about how important it is for you to be on top of your game, mentally, emotionally, and physically, in order to be on top of your game. For those are the people that matter most. Those older folks who are downsizing or or having to move out, whatever, or move closer to family, whatever it may be. How important it is for you to be on top of your game at all times to help them, because what you're doing is going to help them immensely. That's why I'm a big proponent of we cannot sacrifice ourselves in order to make that happen, because it actually becomes counterproductive. It actually has the opposite effect. Because I know for me, even in my 26-year journalism career, like I said earlier, there were days where getting out of bed was challenging enough. I did not want to get out of bed. I didn't feel like I could be a productive member of society, really. I hate to use that phrase because it's so overused, but it's the truth. So when you see these three components, your health and well-being on the personal side, your business and your career here on the professional side, we got to somehow bring them together. Because once we do that, once we discover that taking care of ourselves is the key factor in being able to build that business, build that career that we love to where we want it to be, to build that legacy where we want it to be, so the day we retire, that's how we're going to be remembered. We know we need to have them working together, not working against each other. All right. keep moving the boxes out of the way, because every time I go to a different screen, it always blocks what I'm looking at. All right, so I'm going to start with the quote unquote negative side of things. And the reason I'm sharing this with you, because I'll venture to guess that all of us that are on this call right now have experienced any or all of these at some point in time in our adult life. Show of hands, worked long hours. Lack of boundaries. And by that I mean when we give an inch, they take a mile. High stress levels. I just had a conversation with my son like 10 minutes ago. He's working on an essay for Friday that he has to turn in. So of course he's stressing beyond belief about it right now. So if he's stressing about that, imagine what we've all stressed in our professional lives or in our personal adult lives for that. Inadequate physical activity. Think about how many times we've committed to or vowed to ourselves that we're going to take better care of ourselves. We're going to get to the gym, we're going to work out at home, and we're going to eat healthier. And then life gets in the way. Or so we tell ourselves. Both hands up for me. I'm going to tell you right now, God bless my wife and my family, because I honestly believe if they had been anybody else, I'd be single and alone right now. Because I always, anytime something came up for work, oh, my boss called and he needs me to drive over here to cover this sporting event in 2 hours on a Sunday, on my day off. Sure, I'll do it. Every time, without fail. When it came to deciding, do I pick my family or do I pick my career, my job? Guess which one got picked? Why? Because, I got to earn a living. I got to pay the bills. I got to keep a roof over our heads. I got to put food on the table. All those things that we tell ourselves that, yes, they're important. But ultimately, what I was lacking was the fact that I simply wasn't there. Really, keeping a roof over their heads, keeping food on the table, keeping clothes on their backs, all that really doesn't matter if they're not here, if we're not a family. And I always chose, and everything went by the wayside. I'll go work out tomorrow. Think about how often we've said that. I'll start on Monday. And then Monday rolls around. I'm just too busy this week. And then a week becomes a month, becomes 2 months, 6 months. Next thing you know, you're a year and a half down the road. And any progress that you had made previously is gone, and then some. Poor nutrition and sleep. If I could put my feet in the air right now, I'd put those as well. Because think about how many times you didn't eat well, or didn't eat at all. Went 10, 12, 14 hours, and I cannot tell you how many times I would go to events and I hadn't eaten all day, and next thing you know, I look at my watch and it's 12 o'clock at night. And I haven't eaten anything. Happened more often than I care to remember, to be honest with you. And I'm sure we've all done that because we get so dialed in with what we're doing, so focused on what we're working on, that we don't even stop and think that, we actually need to eat to survive. We need to drink some water. We need to get some sleep. All right. I'm gonna ask you a quick question. You can either chime in or toss it in the chat. On average, how many hours of sleep do you get a night? 7. I like that. That's good. Mine right now is 7 to 8 hours a night. Back in my heyday, and I use that term very loosely, 3, maybe 4 per night. Because the newspaper industry, sports especially, if you know anything about it, everything's at night, everything's on the weekends. So I was working on a regular basis until midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Got young kids, at least at the time I had really young kids. They got to go to school the next morning. They got to be up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. to get ready for school. So if I'm getting, and by the time I get home, I'm still wired, it's 3, 4 a.m. before I fall asleep. And then I'm awake 3, 4 hours later and keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. And then I was wondering why I was sick, why I was running on fumes. It's amazing how easily we can fall into that trap. Why? Because we have so much on our plate that we consider so important to us that we're willing to sacrifice ourselves to make sure those are taken care of. And it's admirable, but sooner or later it becomes counterproductive. Limited social interaction. Karen, we just talked about it. Man, it's been a while since we've seen each other. Why? Because you're busy with stuff. I'm busy with stuff. You know, we get caught up in our own lives, in our own businesses. The next thing you know, oh, hey, it's been a few months. How you been? Haven't seen you in a while. What you been up to? And I know for me, I need that social interaction. I'll share a quick story with you, and I'm picking on my son again here, but I talk about him a lot because I'm proud of him. And back during the COVID shutdown, when all the schools shut down as well and everyone went virtual, he struggled mightily. I mean, he's essentially a straight A student, has been since birth. And the toughest times he ever had in school was during that year and a half when everything was virtual. Why? It wasn't because he couldn't do the work. It wasn't because he wasn't smart enough to figure it out. It wasn't because the work got so hard all of a sudden that it was just over his head. It was that lack of connection. He's sitting in behind a computer screen. Everybody else is sitting behind a computer screen. He's a kid that loves interacting with his classmates, with his teachers. I think he speaks with his teachers sometimes more than he speaks to his classmates, because he loves that connection. He loves that interaction with people. And when he wasn't getting that, grade struggle. And by that, he was getting B's in essence. It wasn't like he was failing or anything, but he wasn't living up to his potential, what we had seen up to that point. And we knew why. And it wasn't because of the academics, it was the social side of things. So limited social interaction. We all need that. You know, we're pack animals at heart. We don't do very well by ourselves for long periods of time. I know I don't. You know, so I know for me, I like it when I see Karen out. I like it when Jennifer hops on the call, when I run into Benita and we are able to have a conversation. I enjoy that. So for me, I know that's a big part of it as well, and I have to pay attention to that myself. And of course, one of the reasons why, oops, man, I'm having a rough time with the clicker today. Tech overload. Guilty as charged. How many of you, I mean, when you, I'm assuming everybody knows that Facebook and Instagram crashed earlier today for about 45 minutes. And I put a meme out there about, hey, how's everybody doing? I'm marked safe from, you know, the great social media blackout of 2024. And I was expecting people to joke around. Some people were serious. You know, what happens when we don't have Facebook in front of us? When we can't get on our computer, on our phones and scroll? When we can't get on Facebook, can't get on Instagram. I can't see what Karen's doing today. I can't see what dogs she's training today. I can't see what Benita's doing today. You know, I know for me, it was funny. My initial thought was, thank God I've got other ways to communicate with my clients, or I'd be really screwed. That was number one. And number two is like, this actually feels pretty good. I can't look at Facebook because I just can't. Karen, that happened about, I want to say it was right around lunchtime-ish when it happened. And initially I thought I'd gotten hacked. because it wouldn't, thank you, Jennifer, yes, so about 11 AM. It wouldn't allow me to log in, it just logged me out, so I was like, well, let me go take a look and see if it's happening to anybody else, and that's, apparently it was pretty much worldwide. When all of Meta, Facebook, Instagram, all of that went down, but it was about 45 minutes. It was one of the nicest 45 minutes and most peaceful 45 minutes I had in quite a long time, I'll be perfectly honest. I was almost hoping it would last longer, frankly. So I wouldn't have the urge to go look, to go scroll, to go see what my clients are up to, you know, that sort of thing. So, all right. Yeah, you are not alone, Jennifer. I can tell you that right now. You are not alone. There were a lot of people that were freaking out today, especially those in industries that rely on social media and they didn't have other avenues to keep in touch with clients and leads and so forth. Thankfully, I know better than that now. All right, so that last item on the list there, it's in green for a reason, resistance to change. All of these we struggle with in some way, shape, or form, because as we get older, we become more and more resistant to change. Why is that? Because it's hard to get out of our comfort zones. I pride myself on that. There once was a time I was scared beyond belief of that. All those times where I told myself, I can't lose weight, or I can't change careers, or I can't be the person I want to be, the best version of myself. It wasn't because I couldn't. We all could do whatever we put our minds to. It was because I didn't believe I could. So why bother trying? For a lot of us, it's better to not try than to fail. That's how we think. That's how we're wired to think sometimes, especially in today's society. How many people out there don't go after what they want because they don't believe they deserve it, or they don't believe they can get it, or they're too afraid to fail, or they're too afraid to get out of their comfort zone because that's what they're most familiar with? That was me for a long, long time. Now, frankly, I don't care. If I fail, I fail. At least it's on my terms. And I'm sure we all can, agree with that. There's some semblance of excitement to that, at least for me anyway. Not knowing what's going to happen next, and knowing that what happens next, whatever that is going to be dependent upon me. I kind of like that. It keeps me on my toes, keeps me sharp. I've always been a firm believer having a little bit of fear is a good thing. It's a really good thing. Appreciate it, Jennifer. You're absolutely right. If nobody can see what she wrote, it's a habit is created because the brain creates a neural pathway that is very wide. It's easier to stay on that well-known path. That's where the saying, take the path less traveled, takes most importance. Absolutely, 100%. That ties right into, getting out of your comfort zone. Doing something that you want to do, but you've never done before. You're not quite sure how, but you're going to do it anyway. Because if at least you try, you got a chance to succeed and a chance to make yourself a better person along the way and a stronger person along the way. Any questions? See, I like to talk, as you can see. Anybody have any questions? You're welcome to unmute and ask the question if you'd like, or just throw it in the chat box. Either way is fine.
Victor,
Otherwise,
I'd say
I'm sorry?
that this whole thing reminds me of when I went to Costa Rica last year. I knew I was afraid of heights, and but I really wanted to zip line. And I went on this day excursion where you were zip lining, going to a water, like literally climbing up the mountain to the zip line, a waterfall, and horseback riding. And I said, I'm going to do this. I'm in Costa Rica, perfect place to zip line. And I was definitely out of my comfort zone. So that was what I was thinking about when you were talking about the resistance to change.
Now think about, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I imagine that if you're thinking about it now, you think about it when you face a tough challenge.
Mm-hmm.
When you face a tough client or a tough a challenging project, you're thinking, well, heck, if I can zip line in Costa Rica, I can do this. And I think that's the best part about getting out of our comfort zones, because what it does is it teaches us, we always hear the old saying, breaking through that glass ceiling. I think that's BS. The only glass ceilings are the ones we put for ourselves there. If we don't put a glass ceiling there, sky's the limit. There's nothing to break through. And for me, I know when I started my own personal health and fitness journey, it was to lose weight, feel healthy, feel better about myself, just like anybody else. And there's nothing wrong with that. Never once thought, yeah, I'm going to become a health and fitness coach and I'm going to start a business. I would have laughed if that thought had ever crossed my mind. But as I went along, as weeks turned to months and months turned to a year and a year plus, all of a sudden you start thinking, well, hey, I've gotten to this point. Who's to say I can't get here? And once I get here, who's to say I can't get there? Who's to say there's a limit? The limit is what we place on ourselves. If the sky's the limit is true, and I firmly believe it is, I have no idea where it all ends for me. Just like for all of us, we don't know what life has in store for us moving forward. But I do know this much: we're going to do everything in our power to prepare for whatever that is. So, I mean, that. As you can see, I get excited when I talk about it because I remember what it was like for me when I didn't think this way, and how difficult it was for me. I didn't share a lot with people back in those days. I didn't want to, I'm a man. I'm not supposed to show vulnerability and all that BS. So I kept it all to myself. But there was a lot of pain back in those days because I didn't think I'd be able to do what we're talking about here. So I get excited when I get to that point and realize that anything's possible. I know it's a cliche. I know if people throw it around willy-nilly, but to me, it's 100% true. All right, let's get past the negative side of things. Let's move on to the positive stuff here. And we're actually on a pretty good pace here. So I'm proud of myself. So I probably just jinxed myself by saying that. So this next slide is called Setting Us Up for Success. What you see there, there's nothing on there that's revolutionary. I'm not one of those Instagram or social media influencers that goes way off the deep end to simply be different. Tried and true works for me. There's a reason why items such as these, tasks such as these on here have survived the test of time because they work. But they only work as well as we implement them and continue doing these things day after day, week after week, month after month. I'm a firm believer, and you can decide, the time frame. Everybody looks at this differently, but I believe it takes a solid 4 weeks, solid month to build a habit that becomes ingrained in our lives, in our minds. That's all our lives are, series of habits. I'm sure there's some habits, if you stop and think about right now, you're thinking, man, I do that. I didn't even realize it, because it's become so ingrained in our heads that we just do it instinctively. So the flip side is true as well. Those negative habits, those bad habits developed over time, in many cases, months, even years. Same goes for good habits. So once we start taking the necessary steps to develop those good habits, over time, you start seeing them become a part of your life. When you work out, that first week is always the toughest because you're not used to it. Your body's sore because you're doing something different, doing something you haven't done in a while. But what happens over time? You start getting in a routine. You start getting in a groove. All of a sudden, if you miss a day, you don't feel quite right. Everything seems kind of off a little bit because your body's become, and your mind has become, it's become ingrained. That habit has become ingrained in your lifestyle. So here are some of the solutions that I use, that I've done, that mentors of mine have shared with me over these past several years, especially since I started my business, planning ahead. That's number one, first and foremost. We have, as human beings, a tendency to fly by the seat of our pants. It's a little, and when one thing gets out of whack, what happens to that fly by the seat of your pants mentality? It just goes right out the window, and nothing seems to work at that point. But for me, I use the end of the week, often Friday afternoons or Sunday mornings, depending on what my weekends look like, to sit down in front of my computer here and start mapping out my week. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and all the pieces fit in some way, shape, or form. I just have to find a way to make them fit. A lot of the stuff is the same things every day. It might be it might be checking in with clients on a Monday, which it is. Checking in with potential leads on Tuesday, which for me it is. So, but the idea is I'm mapping out exactly what my week is going to look like, because when Monday morning rolls around, I just have to start doing what's on my calendar. If I were to show you my calendar right now, it's all mapped out. It's gotten to a point where I don't even have to look at it anymore. I know exactly what it is I'm doing at 10 o'clock on Tuesday for 30 minutes.
Victor, can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Part of my organizing business, the other part of it is productivity. I don't talk a lot about that, but a lot of my clients don't have the ability to be productive, using their time wisely, all that. Believe it or not, it is part of being a professional organizer. So I always start with a visual cue with them if I'm helping them. And this is one of the visual cues I use. Can you see this?
It's a little blurry, but
Yeah, it is.
okay.
It's things to do, people to call, things to buy, email, and then weekly, And I start this with them because not everybody's tech savvy. I keep a Google Calendar and everything, but it's a visual cue for them to organize their time, and they need strategies to help them with organizing their task and plan ahead and productivity. It doesn't come natural to a lot of people.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And it did not come natural to me for a long, long time. And there's still aspects of it that I tweak to this day. I'm always looking to see how can I improve my preparation? How can I streamline it? How can I be more efficient with it? And one of the ways for me, and I think you touched on it here a moment ago, organizing our tasks. And a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, also my business coach, talked to me about a long, long time ago, and he still harps on this to this day, knowing the difference between a non-negotiable and a priority. Most of us, everything's a priority. It's like everything on our to-do list is a priority. Take Johnny to soccer practice, run to the grocery store and grab food for dinner, go to that meeting, meet with that client. Everything's a priority. And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. What I am saying is that there's different levels of that. And where non-negotiables come in is I take 2 or 3 things each day. I write them down. I've got a notepad. I write them down so they're right in front of me that have to get done today, come hell or high water. If the world was ending today, those 3 things had to be done. And here's the reason why I do that. Number one, they're the most important. But number two, there's nothing worse, and I've experienced this many times firsthand. There's nothing worse than having a list of things to do, priorities that are longer than your arm, say 15, 20 items, getting 10 to 12 of those 15, 20 items done and feeling like you failed because you didn't get them all done.
Well,
so for me, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say another part of that, because I do presentations on the benefits of being organized. And what I'd say is that we call what I call batching things together. Like if you're going to make phone calls, make them all at the same time. Your task, put your chores in the same time. So that's something that, like I said, it doesn't come natural to people to do those things. So sometimes we have to help people with that plan. And it sounds like we overlap a little bit with that.
Well, we absolutely do. We absolutely do, because it's the idea of it sets our mind at ease.
Yeah.
When we go into the week, when we go into a day, knowing what we need to do, we just need to execute the plan.
Mhm.
is what it comes down to. And for me, like mine is themed. Monday is client day. And Karen, I reach out to all my clients every Monday. If they don't get it from me, they probably think I'm dead, because that's what they've grown accustomed to. Tuesday is always, let's talk to my leads, the people who are interested. Let's see how I can help them in some way. Wednesday is always networking day. Karen, we see each other at North Brunswick Chamber from time to time, or someplace like that. Thursday is always a content day when I get to have some fun, create memes, and just kind of joke around a little bit and have fun with it. And Friday is kind of a wrap-up day. What am I wrapping up for the week, and start preparing for the following week? So I'm not having to worry about it over the weekend. But it's the same thing every week, so it sets my mind at ease. What also sets my mind at ease is starting the week right. We always talk about Monday sets the tone for how the rest of the week is going to go. If we walk into Monday frazzled and ill-prepared, guess what? The rest of the week is going to be spent frazzled and ill-prepared and feeling like you're always behind the 8 ball. Whereas if we start the week right, it doesn't have to be anything astronomical. A healthy routine. Workout Monday morning, it's always leg day, which kicks my butt every time, but it's a good kick butt. A good breakfast, some relaxation. It sets your mind in the right, it gets you going in the right direction. It puts your mind at ease, and you're able to focus on what lies ahead, which leads to a positive mindset. Yes, Jennifer.
I was gonna say, what about if Monday is the first day of your weekend? Because that's mine. So tend to set the weekday, I guess, pretty good because I get to sleep in on Mondays.
No, there you go. Well, but that would apply to if Wednesday is your Monday. Same thing.
Yeah.
So same basic idea. You're just, obviously situating your days when you prepare a little bit differently. But yeah, I would love for Monday to be my sleep-in day. That's Saturday morning for me. Yes.
No. Well,
I
I
look
go into
forward
work
to
at
that
12.
day. I won't lie.
Yeah. I go into work at 12 on Saturdays, so it's still sleeping in.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Good sleeping never hurts anybody.
Yeah, right.
Positive mindset. And I was as negative a human being as I was for a long, long time. But now for me, no matter what, if things are going well, if things aren't going quite so well, if I've got a whole horde of clients, if I've lost some clients, I still maintain that positive mindset. Why? Because I'm grateful for what I have. Because I say this a lot to people. No matter what's going on, it could always be a heck of a lot worse. And I try not to be a self-fulfilling prophecy where it becomes a heck of a lot worse. But that's the way I choose to look at it, that no matter what, there's always something that could be worse. There's always somebody out there who's struggling more than I am, who has a reason to struggle more than I do. And I can at least put that in perspective, or maybe even help that person. So gratitude. Some of the people that especially in my inner circle, I've got a mentor of mine, Mark Salmanoff, who's the epitome of positive mindset. It irks me sometimes, to be honest with you, because he's always so perky. It's crazy. But I feed off that. To see him as happy as he is, no matter what's going on in life, how could I possibly, feel that sad or that down or that, that angry or frustrated all the time? And there's plenty of people in society who are that way. And it's sad to see, more than I'd like to think, but it's the truth. And prepare for stress. It's my de-stressing room is about 6-10 feet to my left, my home gym. I know if I'm stressed out, if I'm angry about something, or if I need to regain perspective on something, I go in there, I close the door, I let my dogs in there because they always make me happy, even when they're being pests. And I get a good workout in. I listen to a podcast while I'm working out. I know my problems are behind that, on the other side of that door. And that's fine. They're not going away. But I know when I'm finished, I'm going to have a much better mindset and a much better perspective on how to handle those problems behind that door.
You got to start listening to Fireball.
You know what? I actually did hear it. I did turn it on recently. I was like, I'm going to listen to this. I haven't listened to this song in so long. But I did, but yeah, it's kind of, however, whatever works,
I didn't-
whatever works,
I didn't,
to get you going. I'm all for it. I say 2 thumbs up. And if it's Pitbull's Fireball, hey, have at it. I'm good with that. So, which segues into, I appreciate the segue help there, Karen, building a healthy foundation. It can start with setting clear goals, which can be listening to Pitbull's Fireball to get myself going. I mean, those goals can be whatever you need them to be, but pick those that are going to be good for you, that are going to help you stay motivated, dedicated, disciplined, determined to continue moving forward in life, both personally and professionally. Because I'm going to tell you, we're not always at our best every day. We're at the best we can be that particular day. But if we set clear goals that we want to accomplish, and as I wrote there, not just physical goals. For me, a goal is, if I lose that weight, if I build that muscle, how is it going to make my life better? What am I going to accomplish when I feel better about myself? That, to me, when I started thinking that way, that's when Fernandez Fit was born. When I started realizing it's not just about my physical well-being, it's not just about losing weight, feeling better, all great things, but those are merely vehicles to something bigger and to something that ordinarily doesn't have to do with your health and fitness, but your health and fitness plays a role in getting you there. So that's huge for me. Prioritizing exercise and nutrition. I always tell people exercise and nutrition fall into 3 categories: priority, convenience, or afterthought. Give me just 1 second, Jennifer. And we all fall into one of those categories. Priority, it's important to us. We do it no matter what. It's part of our daily routine. Convenience, we squeeze it in when we can. I'll get it done at the end of the day after my meeting at 5 o'clock. What happens oftentimes doesn't get done. And then it becomes an afterthought the further and further we get away from doing it. So, sorry, Jennifer, what were you going to say?
I was going to say part of my fitness journey started as, just trying to, I guess, get fit, lose some weight, things like that after I got off certain meds. And then it started turning into learning about hypermobility spectrum disorder and that I have it. And now I kind of want to be able to help others who are going through with hypermobility spectrum disorder and things like that, and how they could end up helping themselves, because, a connective tissue disorder in general affects more than just what people think is your joints. It affects your, GI tract. So then, I had anemia for 3 years because of severe IBS, and it affects your brain. A lot of connective tissue disorders tend to comorbid with ADHD and autism, and things like that. So I learned I had both, with the hypermobility. This is all in the last 2 months. So it's been a very crazy journey, just because I started exercising and learning that I have herniated disc and that my back hurts, and now I got to fix that. Now I got to fix this, but how, with this hypermobility issue? And so now I'm just like, I really want to be able to help other people who are going through the same thing, because my fitness journey has changed from drastically, and you know it as well, from just being like, go to the gym and do this, to I have to specifically work on stability muscles and work on this and that. And that's been such a fascinating journey for me as well to be able to do. So I completely agree with you with that.
Well, that's that's an incredible example right there. I mean, when you first started out, everything you just shared, I guarantee you that wasn't going through your mind. You just wanted to know why your back hurt and how do I fix it? Something simple as that. My back hurts. I got to fix it. What do I need to do? And then all of a sudden, as you're going along and you're accomplishing more and more, building wins, one on top of the other, all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute. It isn't about this anymore. It isn't just about my back and why it hurt. It's about this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is cool. This is important to me, and I want to learn more. I want to affect change in the world. I want to help people who are in the same boat I'm in. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The journey changes so much over time. I don't think people realize just how impactful it can be.
Oh yes, definitely. I think the biggest thing is that we don't realize how much, like for me, I think the biggest part was how easily I was dismissed for being young. And I have found that I have these chronic illnesses and they were dismissed for so long. And so, finding out that I did this fitness journey at a young age, I'm just thinking, what if I was able to figure this out at 17, 16, 17, 18? How much of a better life during that time when I was hospitalized 24 times would it be? To not have to go through all that I went through and then be able to move from that to now I'm 26. Hi, buddy. Sorry, my service dog is saying hello. Judah, easy. So no, off. So yeah, it basically it's just like that big thing where you end up kind of just hitting these like, well, this is that. Hi, baby. I see you. And so yeah, it's just this humongous thing where you start learning how to help people more so, and then at the end of the day you end up helping yourself even more. So
Absolutely. A couple other things I wanted to share with that. If you look further down the list, that last one especially, be consistent. That's the hardest thing for any of us to do, for any adults to do, because it sounds good up here and we do it off and on, but then what do? We tell ourselves life gets in the way and I'll get back to it. And then maybe we do, and maybe we don't, but ultimately that consistency is what's going to get us to where we want to be. I know for me, in the beginning, it was, I needed to stay focused on what I was doing. And then, and like Jennifer was just saying, just all of a sudden you do this and you build on it and you build on it and you build on it. And next thing you know, it's something much bigger than ourselves that we want to share with the world. But the idea is to be consistent with it, because if we're not, it's the old adage of taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. We end up in the same place all over again. One other quick thing as well, to get on our feet. And I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going up to housewares and sporting goods now. So standing desk, going for a walk. If you looked at my calendar right now, on there is walk Tulip and Scarlet, which is our 2 dogs. It's real easy to get tied up in what we're doing, especially when we love what we're doing. That we don't take the time for ourselves to just reboot. I like to say, regroup, recharge, regroup, resume. And for me, I know just taking that 10 or 15 minutes to go walk my dogs, or to just kick back and maybe read a book for half an hour. When I get back to what I was doing before, you want to talk about clear minds? It's absolutely amazing what we can accomplish once we clear our minds. As I go back down to the first floor again here. Let's come on. My screen wants to play with me today, apparently. All right, so tech issues aside. All right, building healthy life habits. We talk about, and I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible to keep, because I think we're about almost to the hour mark there. First and foremost, that number 1 on that list, improved mental health. We call it physical fitness, but it's much more mental and emotional. Think about how good we feel after even the worst workout ever, and how bad we feel when we don't work out. Think about how good we feel when we have a good, healthy, hearty meal, and how bad we feel after we've had, fast food. The idea is comprehensive health. That's why I stress mindset so much, because without these 2 being aligned, without your heart and mind being aligned, the rest of it doesn't matter. I could create the best program on the planet for each of you, and it wouldn't matter, because your mind and heart wouldn't be into it. They wouldn't be aligned. You wouldn't be focused on what you're doing. Increased energy and productivity. Think about, I think I mentioned this earlier. If we feel good, if we're energized, if we have that positive energy about us, think about all we can accomplish. But if we don't feel it, if we're going through a tough time in life, if we're struggling in some way, think about how it impacts every aspect of our lives, personally and professionally. It's a trickle-down effect. When we're not 100%, when we're not at our best, everyone and everything that we hold dear suffers too. So that's why I say sacrificing ourselves is not a badge of honor. Taking care of ourselves is not selfish. Being at our best is essential because it benefits everyone and everything we hold so dear. Better stress management. If I hadn't been prepared for this webinar, I'd be stressed right about now. I'm just having fun with it. I hope I'm making sense. If I'm not, I'll try better next time. But I'm having fun with it. Why? Because I was prepared. So when I got into it, it was just about sharing knowledge. It's about interacting with everybody on this call. No reason to be stressed for that. Positive mindset ties right into that as well. I go into it saying, this is going to be fun. This is going to be good. I'm going to impact some lives. I'm going to have fun doing it along the way. And I hope that everybody that's on this call and everybody that sees this webinar on replay is going to be better off for it. They're going to take one, even one nugget of knowledge away that they can implement into their lives right now, and it's going to make them better. And I'm having fun watching her dog. Even better. How could you not be positive and be de-stressed when you see that?
Right, he's just cradle. He wants his cuddles for the evening.
Nothing wrong with that. My dog will be getting that soon enough.
Yeah, he decided that it was time, so I can't say
Time.
no.
That's okay. Long-term help, or as I wrote it there, Heath. So apparently I don't spell check very well, so there you go. Not stressed about it though. Here's why I chose that one. Because as I wrote there, the best traits in business, the best traits you can have in the business world, the best abilities you can have are availability and reliability. Karen, you have people who work for you. You have a team of people. Think about it if they were struggling with their health and well-being. They were constantly calling out sick. If they were constantly going to doctor's appointments or in and out of the hospital, God forbid. It hurts you. It hurts your business. And knowing you like I do, you want to see them healthy, not just because it benefits your business, but because they're part of your team. They're part of your family. You want them to be healthy. So for you want them where they feel so good that they can be there every day. They can be reliable and working hard for the team to be able to help your clients achieve what they're looking to achieve. So that's huge.
Well,
and of course, improve. Go ahead.
Part of that is my job's very physical.
Mhm.
So, when I first interview people that want to be part of the team, I let them know this is not for the faint of heart. We're in there on our, climbing up a ladder to get to a shelf, or down on the floor, sitting on the floor, or carrying a box somewhere. It's a very physically demanding job. Now we only spend 4 hours a day doing it because the client gets worn out, but I have to make sure that somebody that comes on is able to do those things and in good shape to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And finally, improved decision making. I don't know about you, but when my brain's in a fog, no good decisions have come from that. And I know when I'm at my best, I know I'm spot on with what I need to do. I'm focused on what I need to do. I make the hard decisions, but when I'm not, productivity falters. It lowers. Why? Because my mind isn't sharp. My mind isn't focused on where it needs to be. In order to do that, I need to take care of myself, take care of my mental health in order to be able to do that. Hey, that one actually changed, the right way for the first time. It only took, the 9th slide. Be consistent. Arrow trends up. If we do the work each and every day, those wins start building up on each other. So all of a sudden, that goal to lose weight or build muscle or just simply feel better about myself becomes the vehicle to something bigger that we want to accomplish. And it just continues growing from there. So this is why when we stop and think about what do we want to accomplish in the business world, with our career, with opening a business, whatever it may be, we have to first stop and think about, all right, how do I take care of myself to be able to make that happen? All right, let's see. I think we got one more slide left. All right, so before I get into all this here, any questions? I can open up, to any questions. You can unmute if you'd like. Any questions or any thoughts you want to share, anything you want to ask, and have at it. The floor is yours. Nothing? I did so well that nobody has any questions. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. All
So
right.
I have
Okay, I'm sorry.
questions.
Sure.
So, what is the online course?
Okay, I am actually going to get into that here now. I'm going to preface this by saying, well, first off, thank you for all of you showing up tonight. I truly appreciate it. Part of me was wondering, am I going to be talking to myself? So, which I would have done. I mean, because I'll listen to myself all day. It's when I start answering myself that it becomes a problem. But so I really do appreciate you all being here and sharing your thoughts and interacting with me, because I really enjoyed this. And it's something like this that I want to do more consistently moving forward. That being said, I'm not selling anything today. Okay, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm a used car salesman trying to sell you a Pinto. The online course is to answer your question, the online course is a program that I created. And this is something, if you ever want to sit down one-on-one, I can walk you through it and show you, piece by piece what it is. Karen, you're familiar with it because you've experienced it. It's an online course that I created, series of videos, different homework assignments and tasks to complete, like taking an online class in essence. I created a series of 20 videos that focus on the mental aspect of our health and well-being, the physical fitness, the nutrition, and the accountability. It teaches about goal setting. There's different aspects to it, and the course itself, you just go through it like you're taking an online course. There's actually even homework assignments at the end of each video to help reinforce the lessons that you learned. Actually, Jennifer, I think you've experienced it too as well, and pretty recently, I might add. So you're very familiar with it. So I like that course because it's an opportunity for people to grow and build their knowledge base on their own time, at their own pace. It's very simple, straightforward videos, really outlining every step of the way. How, why I teach people to track their food for the first 2 weeks without changing anything, as an example, because I want you to see where you're at, where your eating habits are currently at, so we can build from there. That course is going to teach you that. It's going to teach you how to build an actual fitness program, a workout plan for yourself. It's going to teach you how to get your mindset right, get your heart and your mind aligned so you can focus on what you're doing. It basically breaks it down into its simplest terms. And it's actually something, a part of this program that I'm starting, not completed yet, but it's going to be here relatively soon. One of the main aspects of it is I'm going to give you lifetime access to that course. Whether you're part of the membership program for 1 month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. You're getting lifetime access to that course. So you'll have that at your disposal to refer back to as you go through your own personal health and fitness journey. My goal, my one-to-one clients know this. My goal is to teach. My goal is, it may not be the best business model, but my goal is to get my clients to a point where they don't need me anymore, because they feel comfortable enough and have built up enough knowledge to go off and focus on their own health and fitness journey. That's my goal. If somebody has got, I just had a client graduate after 2.5 years, wanted to try it on his own for a little while. It was great. I feel like I accomplished something because I taught him enough and put him in a position to really feel confident enough to do it on his own. And that's my goal, to put the tools in your toolbox that you can utilize as you go through your health and fitness journey. There's going to be a monthly training plan. So every 4 weeks, there'll be a new plan. It's going to touch on something a little bit different. It might be core related. It might be compound movements, lunges, squats, things of that nature related. It's going to teach something different every month. So when you put it all together, you have a real nice comprehensive plan to focus on moving forward. Real simple, because for many people, including myself, it needs to be simple. The work is hard. The plan doesn't have to be. And actually, it shouldn't be. Because if it's simple enough to do, we're more inclined to do it. There's a monthly group call and a community, not a Facebook group, but an actual online community that I'm in the process of creating, where everything's going to be housed in there between the app that I utilize, which I know, Benita, you were part of my 6-week challenge. Karen, you've done the same as well. So the Trainerize app that I use, along with the community that's going to be connected to it, it's going to be an opportunity, much like I did in the challenges, for everyone to interact with one another. Because let's face it, we're all going to be at different points in our health and fitness journey. So if we can help each other out and really support one another, encourage one another, push one another, give each other a proverbial swift kick in the backside when we need it. That's what my coach does for me. We're all there to help each other with that.
Did you notice my cup? When Kasha knew I was big enough, she gave me this cup. Kasha Fulton.
Wow, very nice.
And I carried everywhere with me with water.
I've got one of mine. It's not in the room with me. Otherwise, I'd show it to you. But yeah, so that's part of the training plan. That's part of the community. The group call is we all come together, and Jennifer, you've experienced this as well. Karen, you too, where we all come together and we just meet. We get to know one another. We get to discuss different topics. I like to have kind of a theme to each of those calls. And obviously, who doesn't like free? Anybody here not like free? Everybody say, yeah, no, I'd rather pay for it. Anyone? No? Okay, good. Because then I'd be wondering. The Fernandez Fit membership program is $97 a month, and you're getting all of this that's listed here. And there's going to be more added to it along the way. Different trainings, webinars, much like we're doing right now. I'll probably do membership only type webinars where it's just us in the group together, doing like we're doing right now. But no matter what, before you get to here, you're going to get the first 30 days free, no obligation. At the end of the 30 days, you don't want to continue, you don't have to. Pretty simple. Why am I offering that? Besides being a nice guy, because I know you'll like it, and I know you'll benefit from it, and I'm confident in that giving it away for 30 days is fine by me. Because ultimately, what do I want to do? I want to help people. And if it means giving it away for free for 30 days, that's precisely what I'm going to do. So that's the Fernandez Fit membership program. It's going to be launching here soon. I don't have an actual date yet. Hopefully here in the next few weeks. That's the plan. I created this program to give people a starting point. Some people just need to start. But what happens is they don't know where to begin. They want to start. Their intentions are true. They really want to work hard at it. They just don't know where to begin. This type of program is where you begin. Does that answer your question about the online course and this program in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Karen. Yes.
Nice meeting you, Jennifer and Benita. Bye-bye.
Karen, appreciate your
too.
time.
Bye.
Appreciate you joining us.
Nice to meet you
Any
guys
other
as well.
questions before we wrap things up?
I think you did a good job.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. If anybody has any other questions regarding this program or anything else that you saw today, let me know. And I am going to be sending, obviously, a replay of this to everyone as well. So I
to
appreciate
see
you all
Judah.
joining in. Thank you again. I lied. It took an hour and 15 minutes, so I was a little bit off, but better than I usually am. Thank you again for joining in. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out anytime. And I will talk to you all, I'm sure, very soon.
All right, thanks.
Take care, everybody.